For being the greatest hero in DC, the big blue Boy Scout, the epitome of hope and justice, well, it's funny that Superman also has a whole lot of evil versions out there too. And it's not just limited to DC Comics either. The idea of evil Superman has made its way across Marvel and other comics as well. And so today, well, let's take a look at a lot of these different versions of evil Superman, ranking them all from weakest to strongest. So let's get to it. There are actually a few different versions of this evil Superman. They're all basically the same though. It's Nazi Superman. Overman comes from a reality where the Nazis' Third Reich won the war and took over the planet. That's mostly because they had a Kryptonian on their side. Overman led his own team of Nazi heroes, the JLA Axis, fighting in countless wars and leading an ongoing assault against the Freedom Fighters. You can argue that the Red Sun Superman isn't necessarily evil. He's still got some sort of moral compass, but he also isn't necessarily good. Having been raised in the Soviet Union, this version of Superman fought for Stalin, socialism, and the international expansion of the Warsaw Pact. And along the way, well, he destroyed democracy around the world, stamped out human rights, and anyone who questioned him, well, he used brain surgery to transform them into mindless Superman robots. While he eventually gave up this power and sacrificed himself to save others, he definitely lost his humanity along the way. Homelander. He's the leader of the Seven, the strongest and greatest superhero in the world. He's even said to have been an alien baby who crash landed and was discovered in America's heartland. So just a clear Superman ripoff. But in actuality, well, Homelander is the result of experiments with Compound V, a chemical created by the Nazis that gives superhuman powers. And he's definitely no hero. He's an evil, corrupt, sociopathic bully with godlike powers. He's strong enough to throw around military jets. He's tough enough to take any attack that comes his way. Homelander was even able to punch Queen Maeve's head clean off with one hit. Brutal is what would happen if Superman wasn't raised in Smallville by the Kents, but was instead brought up in the fire pits of Apocalypse by Darkseid himself. He's a clone of Kal-El, Superman's near equal in every way, except Brutal had no problem waging war and conquering the Earth in the name of Darkseid. And if anyone stood against him or even said the wrong thing, well, Brutal would live up to his name and brutally kill them. He even killed Steppenwolf, because Steppenwolf made the mistake of trying to rule the Earth himself instead of saving it for Darkseid. Ultraman is quite literally a Superman copycat. He's from DC Comics, just an alternate version of Superman from another universe. He's the leader of the crime syndicate, this world's version of the Justice League, and is basically what would happen if Superman and all the heroes of Earth were absolutely evil, no good people. He has basically all the same powers as Superman. He's actually close to Superman's power level, but his powers come from eating and consuming kryptonite. It's the source of his powers, not his weakness. However, because Ultraman murders basically everyone he fights on sight, he's never actually been pushed in fights before, so that in turn means he's never had to get stronger and more powerful himself. Omni-Man definitely wasn't the peaceful protector of Earth that he always pretended to be, and really proved that by nearly killing his own son and destroying cities in the process. And during that fight, well, there was a whole lot of power at play. Even the very first punch thrown by Omni-Man sent skyscrapers cracking in half, left thousands dead. Omni-Man would go on to only further demonstrate his power and superiority over most other Viltrumites, sometimes taking on 2 or 3 at the same time without going down. And on top of that, For most of the series, until the very, very end, Omni-Man was much stronger and faster than Invincible, constantly providing a higher bar for Mark to strive towards. Out of every evil Superman, well, there might not be a more famous one than the Superman from the Injustice universe. It all started out when the Joker decided to play with Superman instead of Batman, leading to the death of Lois Lane, the nuking of Metropolis. So Superman vowed that would never happen again. He killed the Joker. It all kind of went downhill from there. Superman became the unquestioned dictator of Earth, killing anyone who dared to stand against him. And he definitely had no problem flexing his muscles. He battled against former friends, other heroes. He fought against the whole Green Lantern Corps, battled against the gods of Olympus. No one was safe from Superman's wrath. Originally created by Lex Luthor to be a clone of Superman, because of his imperfect genetics, Bizarro is actually the opposite of Superman. Like while Superman has freeze breath and heat vision, Bizarro has freeze vision and heat breath. And oh yeah, everything about him is opposite. So his yeses mean nos, and his friends are really his enemies. But still, even while being Superman's opposite, he's more than powerful enough to fight with Superman. He's strong enough to send a man flying to the sun with just one hit, and is tough enough to take all sorts of attacks from the Man of Steel himself. Maybe Superman's most personal enemy, General Zod was a Kryptonian general who was exiled to the Phantom Zone. This actually allowed him to survive the destruction of Krypton, just like Superman. And ever since then, well, he's vowed to kill the son of Jor-El and destroy his adopted homeworld. Just like his subordinate Faora, Zod has all the same powers as Superman and is a ruthless and powerful fighter. But Zod is almost on par with Superman himself when it comes to raw power. He's one of the best fighters in the universe, so he's been able to give Clark some of the hardest and toughest fights of his whole life. Hank Henshaw is Cyborg Superman, and his life's mission is to kill Superman, who he blames for the death of his wife. With his robotic cyborg body that's designed by Kryptonian technology and genetics, well, he definitely has enough power to do it. Cyborg Superman's body is strong enough to injure Superman with just one hit. He literally can't be killed because he can exist in all technology and not just in his cybernetic body. It is arguably one of the greatest technopaths in the universe. Cyborg Superman can take all the technology around him and incorporate it into himself, making himself even more powerful. When it came out, the Plutonian answered a simple question. What if Superman went crazy and started murdering everyone? And this was way before the Injustice comics and whatnot, so the premise really intrigued comic readers. The Plutonian's origin is something of a mystery, but it's been speculated that he might have been an orphaned mutant or an alien refugee or something like that. Your typical superhero backstory. But while he was Earth's greatest hero, he went kinda crazy and started killing his former teammates. Now Plutonium possesses all of Superman's powers, and then some. Because while Superman gets his powers from the sun, the Plutonian gets his powers from manipulating matter on the atomic level, meaning all his abilities are psionic in origin. Because of that, the Plutonian's powers might even be greater than Superman's. Like at his best, if he was truly unleashed, he could even do stuff like manipulate reality and alter probability. Hyperion is Marvel's most obvious copycat, and just like with the actual Superman over in DC, there are plenty of good and evil versions of Hyperion. The most famous of them is King Hyperion. When this version of Mark Milton gained his powers, he decided to conquer and enslave his Earth, killing all his world's heroes and ruling with an iron fist. He can fight against almost any hero or villain out there, battling against Blue Marvel, Juggernaut, and plenty more. But it's really what Hyperion's claimed. He's claimed to have killed Thor, Hercules, all the other heroes in his reality, including Galactus. And if any of that is true, well, King Hyperion is one of the most powerful villains out there. Superboy Prime is the version of Kal-El from Earth Prime, a universe where all superheroes only exist in fiction. Well, all of them except for him. He's a twisted version of Superman and is impossibly more powerful than Superman 2. Superboy Prime is actually one of the most powerful and dangerous beings in the entire multiverse. It takes whole superhero teams and multiple different versions of Supermen to fight against him, to even begin to make it a fair fight. This guy is seriously powerful, and he's without a doubt the most powerful evil Superman out there.